Lecture 6. Human Vision. Introduction. The region of the electromagnetic spectrum with wavelengths between 0.4 and 0.7 microns corresponds to the domain of the visible, that is the energy where human vision operates and that our brain translates as colorimetric information, therefore, the colors. Considering that the human eye represents the acquisition tool par excellence and that the man operator and the man interpreter cover a considerable role in the analysis of remote sensing data, the importance of dealing with the essential aspects of the mechanisms of vision, to which the quantities used in colorimetry are also connected. Quantities that are then found also in the techniques of elaboration and representation of the same data. For example, the final print that reproduces a real scene is still and always a representation, although to the eye it appears absolutely faithful to the scene, created by the rules of colorimetry. Characteristics of the human eye. 1. The eye-brain system represents the basic scheme for each remote sensing instrumentation. The lens, crystalline, acts as a lens, while the iris controls the luminous flux entering through the pupil, and therefore plays the role of the diaphragm in the digital camera. It is interesting to note that the optical axis and the view axis do not coincide, in particular the latter falls into an area of the well-delimited retina, a dimple, called fovea, which covers, in the mechanism of vision, a very particular role. The retina, which has a membrane structure rich in blood vessels from which the name derives, has the same function in the eye as the photosensitive sensor in a camera and the observed scene that will be projected on a reduced scale and turned upside down. Then sent to the brain in the form of nerve signals, figure below. Characteristics of the human eye. 2. On the back face, this membrane is endowed with an infinity of minute cells that correspond to the sensory parts of the system, connected to the nerves through a well-organized network of nerve ganglia. These cells, called photoreceptors, are of two types, defined, in relation to their shape, as cones and rods. Characteristics of the human eye. 3. The action carried out by the two classes of receptors is specific and differs in relation to the lighting conditions. In full light, the cones that are characterized by a good spectral and geometric resolution, photopic vision, operate mostly, while the rods intervene for mostly in low light conditions, having a good radiometric resolution and limited spectral sensitivity, scotopic vision. Characteristics of the human eye. 4. Receptor cones, typically active during the day and responsible for the chromatic component of vision, based on the differential absorption of the pigment contained in them, are divided into three families and are called type S, short, type M, medium, and type L, long. As represented in the diagram of the following figure, each of the three families is specialized in perceiving radiances in different wavelength ranges and with different spectral resolutions, with peaks respectively at 440 nanometers for small-medium wavelengths, blue, at 540 nanometers for medium, green, and 580 nanometers, yellow, for medium-long ones. As shown in the diagram, each of the three families is specialized in perceiving radiances in different wavelength ranges and with different spectral resolutions, with peaks respectively at 440 nanometers for small-medium wavelengths, blue, at 540 nanometers for medium, green, and 580 nanometers, yellow, for medium-long ones. Characteristics of the human eye. 5. Distribution of the spectral sensitivity of the three types of chromatic photoreceptors responsible for human vision in small to medium wavelengths, peak at 440 nanometers, in blue, medium, peak at 540 nanometers, in green, and medium-long, peak at 580 nanometers, in yellow. Characteristics of the human eye. 6. The value composed of the three different sensitivity portions produces the global average spectral sensitivity diagram of the human eye during photopic vision, as shown in the following figure. This curve essentially covers the whole spectrum of the visible with peak sensitivity in yellow-green at the wavelength of 555 nanometers, practically close to the maximum value of solar irradiance at sea level. This is an evident demonstration of a natural adaptation of the human visual system to the surrounding environment. According to this fact, the yellow-green is, for example, the color of the fog lights, that is to say of maximum sensitivity, while the red, on the contrary, is the color that receives maximum attention of a psychological nature as it remembers the blood or the fire, and therefore the danger, but certainly not because it is of particular sensitivity to the eye. Characteristics of the human eye. 7. shift in the distribution of the spectral sensitivity of the photoreceptors of the human eye, passing from the vision in full light to the predominant work of the cones, photopic, to that in darkness due essentially to the action of rods, scotopic. Characteristics of the human eye, 8. In the same figure is also represented the trend of the spectral sensitivity of the eye during the scotopic vision, due essentially to the rods. As can be seen, the peak shifts towards shorter wavelengths, at 505 nanometers, in blue-green in correspondence with the typical colors of darkness and night. The rods also have a very strong radiometric sensitivity, of the order of 1,000 times greater than that of the cones, to be able to capture even the smallest light signal. Therefore they are active especially in conditions of darkness. For this reason, for example, the lights of airport runways or emergency vehicles are blue-violet. A very particular situation is that at dusk or dawn, when the two types of vision, photopic and scotopic, partially overlap, without either of them having the upper hand, making the vision particularly difficult. The displacement that is observed in the maxima of the two curves, passing from the photopic vision to the scotopic one, is also known as the Purkinje effect. Characteristics of the human eye, 9. It is interesting to note that the distribution of cones and rods on the retina is not uniform, but specific and with variable density. The cones, being appointed to a vision of precision, where the detail to be explored appears to be well lit and therefore also rich in chromatic information, as in the diurnal vision, mostly occupy the area of the fovea, coinciding with the view axis which subtends about 2 degrees of the central portion and thin out towards the periphery. Their dimensions vary according to their position up to values of 1 m for those located in the fovea, which corresponds to a geometric limit resolving power of 1000 lines a millimeter. A respectable capacity comparable with the best available optical systems, but still less than that of a bird of prey that reaches a resolving power up to 3 to 4 times higher. The rods, instead, responsible for the achromatic vision, are distributed starting from the edges of the fovea, thickening towards the periphery of the retina up to a maximum density at the limit of the visual field of the eye. This explains why, for the purpose of a better observation of objects in full darkness, for example the dim light of the stars, after the necessary initial adaptation, the peripheral part of the retina is preferably used, the so-called tail of the eye, and turn the head slightly with respect to the normal view axis. This is to avoid using the central part of the fovea where, for all intents and purposes, there is a total absence of rods, a real blind hole for night vision. Characteristics of the human eye, 11. The light signal therefore affects the photoreceptors that occupy the first layer of the retina, the rear one with respect to the origin of the light. Then there are 2 other layers in the retina that are occupied by 2 sets of nerve elements, bipolar cells and ganglion cells, as described in the schematic section of the previous figure, B, whose task is to transmit the information to the optic nerve, as if they were real telephone wires gathered in one big cable. The 2 optic nerves, coming respectively from the right and left eye, meet in the optic chiasma where each of them is divided into 2 parts, separating the information of the right half and the left half of the visual field of each eye, following figure. Characteristics of the human eye, 12. Figure showing the functioning of the chiasma. The 2 optic nerves separate into 2 halves relative to the right and left parts of the field of view, to rejoin in a homologous manner, and then reach respectively the left and right parts of the cerebral cortex, where the nervous signal is analyzed and interpreted. Characteristics of the human eye, 13. The effective understanding of the mechanisms of vision is still an open problem. It seems quite certain, however, that in the presence of a photochemical type reaction, for which particular pigments whose photoreceptors are impregnated in different ways, in rods are called rhodopsin, are discolored, or bleached, when struck by a flow bright even very small, like that of a single photon. It is believed that to activate a rhodopsin molecule, the protein responsible for vision and contained in the rods, a single photon with a wavelength of 550 nanometers is sufficient and therefore an energy of about 4 × 10 to 12 erg, barely 2 orders of magnitude greater than that developed in molecular shocks in Brownian motion. During this whitening process, the pigments, which are continuously regenerated, produce chemical substances capable of stimulating the nerve endings and therefore of transmitting qualitative and quantitative information, such as spectral and luminous intensity, through nerve impulses at increasing frequencies. Characteristics of the human eye. 14. In conclusion, while the structural and functional wonders of the eye never cease to amaze, its limits are well known and can be summarized in some points. The sensitivity of the retina is confined to a small part of the electromagnetic spectrum, although very significant for the surrounding environment, in the visible range, and varies according to the wavelength, with a peak around 555 nanometers, yellow-green light, and from person to person. Furthermore, the human eye is able on average to distinguish some millions of different colors, but only a couple of hundreds of grays, as long as the latter are arranged contiguously, otherwise its capacity is reduced to a few dozen samples. The existence of a sort of automatic brightness control, variation of the pupil diameter as a function of the incident light, which does not allow for impartial comparisons of lights. Characteristics of the human eye. 15. The variability of chromatic sensitivity as a function of ambient light, so that the ability to discriminate colors decreases strongly in poorly lit environments. The angle of view, even though it is physically constant, can be increased, if one can say so, by effect of the movement of the eyeballs, while due to the attention that the brain places on certain details, it can also be reduced to only corner that embraces those details. The presence of memory, experience, and the so-called preconceptions also makes the whole eye brain affected by systematic errors, variable from person to person and very difficult to assess. Even cultural, environmental, and educational factors take over the judgment on the images, strongly influencing the objectivity and repeatability of an observation. Vision theory. 1. Color vision implies relational mechanisms and functions between the structural parts of the eye that are not completely clarified to this day. The basic problem consists in understanding how the eye, whose structural and functional framework is well known, is able to transmit different and specific nerve stimuli to the brain for each different wavelength of light that affects the retina. On the subject there are several theories, all more or less fascinating, in search of correlating experimental and functional facts with the physiology and anatomy of the eye-brain system. Vision theory. 2. To better understand the theory of trichromatic or components, formulated in 1801 by T. Young and H. von Helmholtz, it is useful to remember that at that time some mechanisms of composition of the colors on which the theory itself is based were well known. In particular, it was known experimentally that, starting from three very precise starting colors, blue, green and red, an infinity of other colors could be created, including white. All this simply by modulating the power of three light beams related to the basic colors, which are therefore defined primary colors by addition, following table. Vision theory. 4. If on the one hand the trichromatic model is able to explain some experimental facts such as, for example, sight defects in red and green, known with the generic term of color blindness, and the production of complementary colors due to selective retinal fatigue, on the other hand it fails to explain other phenomena such as the effect of persistence of colors and relative contrasts. However, even if incomplete, the model of Young-Helmholtz has from its simplicity the reference according to which the human eye is able to incorporate all the wide range of colors, or rather their sensations, through activation of three photoreceptors sensitive to the three fundamental colors blue, green and red. Therefore it is sufficient to recall the practical usefulness of these principles on which the most common techniques of visualization of images are founded, be they television or projective, additive synthesis, or the same photographic or printing processes, subtractive combination. Stereoscopic vision. 1. If you try to quickly grab an object, placed a short distance away, keeping one eye closed, you will hardly succeed at the first attempt. In fact, looking at only one eye, there is no sense of relief that allows us to accurately assess the distances and the shape of objects. If you look at an object closely, closing one eye first and then the other, you will get the impression that the object is moving. If you repeat the experiment looking at objects that are very far away, you will notice a minimal difference between the two images. Looking then with both eyes open, it can be seen that in the first case the sense of relief is very pronounced, while in the second it is very weak. To understand this phenomenon, consider each retina separately. In observing a point object, fixation point, this falls at the center of our visual field and will form an image on the retina. Stereoscopic vision, 2. All the points of space located to the right, left, above and below the fixation point will stimulate the retinal cells located respectively to the left, to the right, below and above the retina due to the reversal of the images. Since each stimulated retinal point determines visual sensations, in turn interpreted at cortical level through the optic nerve and always referred to the same direction of the visual field, depending on the position that this point has on the retina, and since the stimuli on corresponding retinal points in the two eyes are located in equal directions, the two retinal images of the same object are finally transposed and superimposed like a single image, binocular vision. However, since the two eyes are at a mutual distance of about 6 to 7 centimeters, the observation of objects not too far away is carried out from a slightly different point of view. The resulting retinal images will not therefore be perfectly equal, and these slight perspective variations are the basis of the sense of depth, stereoscopic sense.